All right. I will say hello and welcome back to another episode of All About Balance. And today I am joined by somebody that I supposedly went to school with.
Here we
Today
go.
I am joined by Mr. Thomas Wellings, Shrewsbury United's biggest fan.
Shrewsbury Town, come on. It's not
Yeah,
that
but
difficult. Come on.
I just said it's truly. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yes, I am good. I am good.
Good
Um,
to hear.
Maybe we'll start with Shrewsbury. Like, you used to be a scummy Liverpool fan, so what happened?
I think it's quite timely that you asked this, as the man himself passed away yesterday.
You did, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I
Jesus, that was.
remember. Oh man, I don't know what it was. Like yesterday, I heard the news and it was like, "Fuck, man, that's like my childhood there." Um, but yeah, I remember there was a Christmas. It might have been 2002, I think. I was being a little shithead, fucking however old I was in 2002, just couldn't settle down, whatever. And my uncle was like big time Liverpool supporter. So he sat me down and what made me watch the video of the treble winning season under Julia. And I was like, okay, I like this team, yeah, because I like my football. I was at that age where it was like, oh, these are playing, they've got a nice kit, let's support them. And then yeah, after that it was Liverpool, and then I would say 2004, might have been 2003 actually. Uh, Same uncle took me to go and watch Shrewsbury at the old
Mhm.
Gay Meadow, and and I came back from that, and I was like, can I support two teams? Probably. But like obviously when you go to primary school and that, you want to like have something to go back and forth with your classmates about, like, so like obviously Man United and Liverpool were all in the same league, and Chelsea and all that stuff. Um, so that was where I held the Liverpool fan moniker until like year 10, like openly anyway, and then I would sort of say, oh yeah, I'm a Shrewsbury Town fan, like as I got older,
So you
and they were
finally
like,
came out as a town
really?
fan.
Yeah, I guess you could say this is my coming out story. Yeah. um, but yeah, and then obviously Liverpool and Shrewsbury played last year, and that was like the two worlds come together, and then stuff happened behind closed doors between the two clubs, and it was like, ooh, this isn't good. So yeah, and then and now it's literally, I've depopped pretty much all of my Liverpool memorabilia, and I've just got now I'm a Shrewsbury Town fan openly, proudly, So
Disgraceful, disgraceful, turning your back on the scum that is Liverpool. I mean, but I kind of, I don't know. I think there's something to be said about supporting lower league teams, just because football at the moment is so. I mean, it's not really a game anymore in the Premier League, is it? It's a business,
no,
and there's every single miss, every single tackle, every single pass can determine whether your club earns a set amount of money or doesn't earn a set amount of money, and that is essentially all that those clubs care about, and that's what it feels like to me anyway.
yeah,
But with Shrewsbury especially, I mean, this isn't because Shrewsbury are shit or whatever, but it's more that Shrewsbury aren't looking at qualifying for a Champions League spot anytime soon. Do you know what I
no,
mean? Like, that's not
no.
even in the aspirations. It's literally just, can we get some points from the game in front of us? Can
Oh,
we,
sorry, that was me.
scumbag? Can we keep hold of our best players? Can we make sure that in some fashion we are keeping our finances above board? Can we see if we can turn the gate revenue from 85% to 86% in the next 3 years or whatever it is?
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, it's more. I don't know. It feels more about the football, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's the real connection for me with like lower league football. Is like Obviously, money matters, but it matters more in the sense of keeping your club afloat. So I know for a long time when West Brom, like for example, were in the Premier League. So our group of friends, obviously, that's Daly, Ben, Mulligan, freaking Premier League team supporting. And then I think every time the FA Cup rolls around, for them it's like it's whatever. Who cares? But for me, it is I love the FA Cup. I don't know. I genuinely I don't know what it is. I've always loved it. And then more recently, as I've gotten older, I've seen the importance of the FA Cup in that those gate receipts, man. Big team comes to town and it's like, fuck, that's a lot of money. That's sponsorships. That's so Shrewsbury have obviously had West Ham, Chelsea in the Carabao Cup, Southampton away coming up in the FA Cup, Liverpool last year, all fairly substantial, like big teams that are going to draw numbers and put eyes on little old Shrewsbury Town. And the money from that, especially after everything that's gone on this year, it's massive. I'd say that's probably the reason why teams like Shrewsbury, I don't know what everyone else is like, but our chairman's quite open with what's going on. But yeah, the money from those ties and stuff like that is what makes us what we are, and along with obviously like transfer revenues and bits and pieces like that. So for a long time, Shrewsbury were losing players on a free, and it was like, right, what's going on here then? Like, why can't we like either give them another contract and then sell them once they've signed it or whatever? And I'd say only the past couple of years we've let like certain players go, and it was there like that's probably going to bite us. But you know, more often than not now, it's we're getting maybe not the biggest, but we're still keeping ourselves afloat by means such as FA Cup ties and player revenue.
Yeah, and that's that because essentially it still is about it's still a business, right? You still have to keep the town, you still have to keep the club afloat, because if the club goes down, then that's it, it's gone, right? You're not gonna have an Eastern backer come in with billions of pounds to buy the club, and you're not going to see Shrewsbury turn into a Man City or something like that, where just the financial backing seems to be endless. But it kind of, maybe this takes us on to our second subject, but I think the part of following a club like that is that the club is struggling always, essentially, right? There's not 50 million in the bank for you to go and spend on players. There's maybe $1 million if you're lucky, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you've had a really good season. And the struggle that the club goes through, I think that's why you feel more connected to it, because when you get an 89th minute winner, or you get a draw against Liverpool and at home, and now you can go to Anfield, like, you understand the gravity that brings to a club, not just financially, but from a history perspective and from a fan connection perspective, and what that gives you is just this undying passion and love for the club, and you want it to do it well, right? But it's the acknowledgement that the club is struggling and that you're struggling with the club, I feel, anyway.
Yeah, but pretty nail on. Yeah.
And I guess that you don't, and to round out my point, like, you don't really get that with a Man United or a Liverpool or whatever. Like, at no point maybe obviously anything's possible, but I can't see in the near distant future that you're going to get a breaking news to say that Man United's gone into liquidation.
Yeah.
Or whatever, or Liverpool, or Arsenal, or any of these clubs.
Because I guarantee that there's such a name, such an aura around clubs like that, like a Man United, like a Liverpool, that someone will go, I'll take that all day long, because I can I can put a certain amount of flux like in, and then see that back within 2 years, probably doubled if the team's doing well. So
definitely, and the other side is, if you've got, look at the Man United team. Whether we believe them to have the same transfer value now, but you've got 160 million in 2 players. Do you know what I mean? Like, if we were able to sell Pogba and Maguire, if the club's going into liquidation, right? What do? You sell off assets. Well,
yeah, fucking money like that makes a fucking non-league, fucking football league team supporter just like, oh, that'd be nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, imagine what 80 million could do for a Shrewsbury Town. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, fucking Jesus Christ, the team of Jermaine Granderson's actually comes to fruition.
Jesus. But that's the other thing. The other way that clubs make that money is by selling on fees. So let's say Joe Hart, right? That's probably the best example. Joe Hart used to play for Shrewsbury, goes to City eventually, and if Shrewsbury had any nous about them, they put a clause in his contract to say that they would get a percentage of the sell-on value, right? And maybe from that you get a couple of million, maybe you get less. But those are, I mean, they're like 1 in 100. How many kids do you expect out of the Shrewsbury Academy to go on and play for Liverpool?
Well, yeah, fucking
not many.
Not many, no. To be honest, it's still weird that, say, Shrewsbury Town produced one of England's best goalkeepers. Like, that's, to me, that's mental. Like, it's very rare that a player from an academy like Shrewsbury, because I remember for a little while, while Joe Hart was England #1, Shrewsbury were getting money for that. There was a clause somewhere that said, if Joe Hart makes it to the England squad, Shrewsbury Town will receive a lump sum, X amount of money. I to this day, I don't know what it was, but it must have been pretty nice, Fucking, yeah, it's weird because we never, like, even literally the only examples that I can think of nowadays are players coming in from these big teams and then going on to bigger things, as opposed to Joe Hart, who was
born and bred, basically.
One of us. Dave Edwards as well. Like, for me, Dave Edwards, if I wasn't a Shrewsbury fan, it would be... Can I grab a pair?
Dave Edwards.
Dave Edwards. Yeah. Come on. Not Dave Kitson. Anyone but Dave Kitson. But yeah, so from memory, Joe Hart, Dave Edwards are the two that stand out really as the players that have left Shrewsbury Town and gone on to do bigger and better things and have been a product of the academy. Whereas now, or in recent times, Dean Henderson, Ben Godfrey, the two there that stand out. Look at them. Fucking Ben Godfrey was signed just as he's young. Come on, let's send you off to Shrewsbury and see how you get on. Yeah. that boy's got endless potential. What are you?
One, I've just realised that.
But yeah, so like off the top of my head, and then I saw something on Twitter behind you, and it was there like, fucking hell, we've actually had quite a few players that have gone on to do. Fucking Connor Goldson's the standout for me, the one that I literally just remember. I don't know how I forgot, but yeah. So yeah, Shrewsbury's seen a lot of players come through. Fucking James Tavernier's fucking Rangers captain. That's a big one. Well, I mean, to some people would probably say that Rangers and Celtic would probably be like lower end of the Prem standard. I don't know. I think that might have changed over recent years, but yeah, I'd say
not sure about Rangers, but I think Celtic probably mid-table team.
Yeah,
in the Prem.
Maybe not this season under Lennon, but we won't talk about that. But yeah, it's just having players like that come through, go off, do their own thing, and then when people are interested in them, they will research them and say, "Oh, Shrewsbury Town," and yeah, it's mad. What football, man! I love it. I think you were saying before we started that you wanted to bring me on to like my escapes and stuff to mental health problems. Football, definitely. Football's the main one. But yeah, you think about different aspects of football, and it's just like, wow, I can't explain it, but yeah, that's all of.
Yeah, so, I mean, you talk of football as an escape, right? I think that's probably the same for everyone, especially when I used to go to Old Trafford. I think that was something it was definitely, the thing that I loved and hated about going to Old Trafford is, when I was in London, it was literally a 12 to 13 hour day. Do you know what I mean? You get up at 7, travel to the train station, that's an hour, trains 2 hours, then you get a taxi to the grounds because you're always late, right? And then you get to the ground, watch the game. That's just over 90 minutes. You then walk back to the train station, which is a good 2 miles, get on the train back, 2 hours, train home. By the time you get home, it's like 7, 8, 9 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
And some of those days are great because you get big wins. And some of those days are absolutely awful because you lose to shit houses. And, there's something about, and I'll ask you your opinion on this, obviously, is how do you feel like one of the reasons why football is an escape is because it gives you a sense of belonging, to belong to a team, right?
I think sometimes with anxiety you kind of want to be left alone.
Well,
but then
let me just stop you there just for a second. So let's give some context, right? So do you want to just describe what you've been diagnosed with, and then we can delve into everything else?
Trying to think of the actual term. I know it as like a serious case of anxiety and depression is what I was diagnosed with. And there's probably other bits to it as well. I spent a lot of time thinking, what the fuck is going on? This isn't normal, but yeah, that's what it is. That's what I was told. And now we're in the recovery process, I guess you could call it. I mean, of dealing with it.
We'll get back to football, but you've started now, so let's press on with this. Like, do you feel like there is such a thing as recovery, or do you feel like you're just going to grow, not used to it, but you're going to develop mechanisms to cope with it?
So I think coping with it is definitely one aspect, and then I think a part of me, one of my last major sort of like depressive episodes was like, fuck man, I need to either snap out of it or grow up a bit. And I'm gonna say, like, I say that and it sounds so horrible. If you said that to anyone else dealing with what I was going through, it was there like, fuck man, do you not care for people? And it was just there like, but I can say that shit to myself because I'm not hurting anyone when I say that, but like, that's what it felt like to me. It was there like, come on, you're 24 now. This shit's been going on too long. You need to snap out of it. Which I wish that there was, like, I know people are like that and they will tell strangers to, grow up, grow out of it, whatever. Just be cunts about it. But like, if you reach that point with anxiety and you reach that point with depression and you feel brave enough to tell yourself that, like, and just come to the realization of, man, this is beginning to take like a hold of me, as opposed to like just taking you away from certain situations. Sometimes anxiety is great. It can get you out of situations where it's like, I don't really want to be here, come on, let's go. Like being invited out, you could say, not feeling great. And that's a win. But like, say you want to go out and there's a chance that you could say, meet your fucking future girlfriend, future wife, whatever. And then that's the bit you think about, and it's like, fuck, maybe not, maybe I shouldn't have. But yeah, in terms of like a recovery thing, I would say that there is definitely a recovery / like a, I'm not religious at all, but it's like a coming to Jesus moment, so they like to call it, like, you know, and that, yeah, and I just wish that more people had that chance, or have
feel,
that.
Sorry.
Go on. Sorry, no, I was just rambling again. Don't worry.
Do you feel like you've always had these sorts of let me try and phrase this the right way. Do you feel like you've always had these sorts of notions in your brain, or do you feel like they've developed over time? Do you remember when you first started having these episodes?
I think there's always been something there. Something that always sort of like a little bit of a, you sure about that kind of. But I wasn't, for ages. I just thought, that's fine. Everyone goes through it. And then I would say it was so definitely year 10 was when I would say that leaving the house and go to school and stuff like that was then when I was like, I started going out less, just because I didn't want to see anyone from school. Like, to me, that was weird. Like, an engagement at a school with people that I had seen before, that was weird to me.
And just for context, year 10 would be about 14, 15, roughly.
Yeah, sorry. And then I would say year 11, there was stuff that happened. I won't talk about it. I'd rather not. But and then you sort of get, and then you start to like doubt yourself about other things, and it's like, and then and then that's when the depression hit, leaving school. It was nothing to do with leaving school. Could not have been fucking happier. Like, you could not have gotten me away from that place any quicker. I remember on Leavers Day, there was talk of people staying behind and saying goodbye to everyone, getting pictures and that, and I just fucked off. I got in the car with Mum and I was like, yep, not going back there again. And then I think from that day forward, then that's when the depression really sort of started to take hold, alongside the anxiety. So it's like a fucking wombo combo there. It's like, cool, let's hit you with this left and then that right, and then fuck you for 8 years or whatever. That's when.
I mean, like, what? Because you say it was nothing to do with school, and that's fine. But why do you think the depressive episodes started after you left school? I have a theory, but I want to hear your thoughts.
So I would say it's probably. I would say the depressive episodes after school were probably more self-doubt than what they were anything like. I mean, obviously everyone's got a trigger, and I hate to pin it on that thing, obviously, that I'm sure if Ben listens to this and you've probably heard bits and pieces about it, but like I said, I'm not, because in case they hear it, it's just they're like, it's not, there's no point, because then I'm pinning the blame elsewhere, and that's not the point that I've gotten to now. It's shit like that.
What you're saying is there were situations in your past with people in your past that you have defined to be trigger points, tipping points, I suppose, into. Yeah.
Sorry, I was like beating around the bush there because I didn't want to go into specifics. Yeah.
It's fine. I'm happy to translate.
Yeah. But yeah, and then the depressive episodes really sort of kicked in, and then leaving school, it was like, right, okay, let's I've had a couple of months, maybe like 2 months longer than everyone else, because I was just having a good time after school ended. I was playing Xbox and whatever else, and then it was like, right, cool, come on, real world now. I went and got a job in a garden centre just up the road from me. And I was there for maybe half a day, and that's when it was like, cool. I don't feel good. You know, so I went up to the office and I was just like, yeah, this isn't for me. And I wasn't even with anyone. You know, they started me off on something so menial, like I think it was like potting plants, and I was fucking in a little fucking garden tent with like a Nicolage and a whatever what other like Eastern European name might be that was in there, and I was just like, they're all looking at me. I'm not too privy to having all these eyes on me. And there was like 2 guys, and they probably didn't give a shit. Looking back, I was just, you know, and that's when I got home, and I think I probably cried a little bit. You know, I was just like, why do I feel like that? This is horrible. And then I didn't do anything else then for another year, and I couldn't explain. I couldn't. So like, mum was trying to help me. And I was just like, yeah, whatever, I'm doing it, you know, like teenagers do. And then I would say I tried again. Like after that, like probably like 12-month anniversary of me saying, oh, I don't feel so great at the garden centre. And it was another garden centre up the road, actually. There's lots of garden centres near me, by the way. Context, I live out in the middle of fucking the arsehole of nowhere. In Shropshire. But yeah, so I tried, but this time it was in more of a hospitality setting in a garden centre. So like I was in a cafe, you know, making teas and stuff, and that was fine. I was there for a bit longer. But then, yeah, I can't put my finger on it, but there were a couple of times where the depression like grabbed me, and it was like, sick. This is fun. But you know, I just kind of like didn't pay attention to it. You know, I just thought I was being hormonal. You know, being a teenager and that. And then yeah, I would say probably 6 months into that, it was there like, yeah, no, can't do this again. The eyes, the imaginary eyes were on me again. And I went home and I spoke to mum about it, and she was like, right, okay, cool. We're going to take you to the child services of Shropshire and just see what the fuck is going on here. Or was it? No, it wasn't child services. No, it was my GP at Shrewsbury. And he was just there like, yeah, anxiety and depression, you know, we'll get you some meds and we'll sort you out. So, right, cool. And then I was put on, I think fluoxetine was the first one that they put me on for my anxiety. No, that was for my depression. And that, I can't remember being on fluoxetine and having a single good thing to say about fluoxetine as a drug. Pointless. It just makes you fat. That's all that happened to me when I was on fluoxetine. It was like, right, cool. Here's your appetite that you've never had. You know, here's staying up late at night, eating shit, and then getting into a cycle of just not being healthy, you know? Do
you think though, and this is me being devil's advocate, but do you think that, because fluoxetine obviously is going to do things to there's chemical compounds in fluoxetine that will make your body react in a certain way.
Might work for others, but for me, it didn't work.
Do you think that, you know, you mentioned weight gain, right? Fine, whatever. Like, as much as we joke about me not remembering you in school, I don't remember you in school, but I do remember a very skinny kid, right?
Yeah, very, very skinny, very spotty, very gangly, you know. Probably sounded the same as I do now, you know.
Probably.
Fucking.
But do you think that the weight gain was also something to do with your choice, right? Like, it wasn't just the fluoxetine.
You know, I think. So what I will say is I distinctly remember one of the side effects being, because obviously, you know, before you go on drugs and stuff like that, they give you these disclaimers. Yeah. And the only reason why I picked at the here's your appetite thing just then is because they said on the warning, it was like increased appetite, handle with care. So obviously I didn't handle that with care. So I can see what the point you're trying to make is that choice. But I think fluoxetine was definitely a
contributing factor.
Yeah, that's the word. Yeah. But other than that, yeah, no, I fucked it pretty much. But you know, it's whatever now. It's you know, I'm eating better. It's taken me fucking like 4 odd years to sort of say, come on, fatty, let's work on this.
Because there's a recurring theme here, right, in the way that you're speaking, and that recurring theme is, so you say my anxiety and my depression, right? But then you're equally as defamatory to yourself by saying, oh, I'm fat, I'm this, I'm the next thing. But then in the other vein, you're deflecting in some fashion the blame away to fluoxetine. And like, you can see the patterns, right? The patterns from me watching on the outside are evident. And you know, how many times when I was living in Telford would we try to organize something, you know, a day out or whatever, and you wouldn't be feeling good, right? So, you know, this isn't something that's, as you've already said, this isn't something that happened overnight, and this isn't something that's going to go away overnight. But no. I wanted to ask, like, you say you feel like people are watching you, right? And that makes you feel unnerved and anxious. And to be honest, I think everyone can attest to that, right? Like, if anyone feels like you're being followed, or like that people are watching you for whatever reason, like, it's not a comfortable feeling at all. But when you had your depressive episodes, like, what did you feel? What happened? So, if you're comfortable to talk about it.
Obviously. Yeah. I'm an open book when it comes to my anxiety and my depression. It's just other stuff that I'm a little bit wary of. My like majorly depressive episodes were feelings of I'm not good enough in general. I was going to say like, oh, I'm not good enough for this, and this, but no, just genuinely, it was an all-round feeling of not feeling good enough. And then just like seeing myself in the mirror and thinking, fucking hell, like I can't put a descriptive word on that. It's genuinely just looking at myself and going, fucking hell. And then, I think that's probably where the self-deprecations come from as well. I also think the self-deprecation for me was another one of the coping things, was that if I can have a laugh and a joke about it, that'll take some of the angst out of however I'm feeling. But yeah, I'm just trying to think about other, because when you're in them, when you're in a depressive episode, you can put your finger at what's going on and stuff like that. But when you're out of them, it's like
they're hazy, right?
They're hazy, yeah. Anger. I was definitely more angry at my most depressed. I would say eating as well. Eating became a coping thing.
There's a real. There's the picture you're painting, right, is that everything becomes to be a vicious cycle. Right?
Yeah.
So there's a vicious cycle of self-deprecation. There's a vicious cycle of weight gain. Weight gain, unless it's lean muscle mass, is likely never going to make anyone feel good. So you're looking in the mirror and internally saying fucking hell, but externally saying fucking hell as well.
Yeah.
You're not spending as much time as you would socializing person to person with your friends. You're not spending as much time outside of your house, right? And yeah, the eating and the self-deprecation, and then the depressive episodes, and the anger at the eating, the anger at the depressive episodes, etc. It's just one long.
Sounds like the past fucking like 4 years. Yeah, it's just like not even 4. It's fucking 6 years at this point now. Fuck me.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, it's the things you're saying at the minute now are vicious cycle, and it's like Sounds about right. Yeah, it sounds like all the things that I know were going on at the time, but now thinking about it, I couldn't put my finger on it. / I don't want to admit these things, if you get me.
Sure.
But like I get it, I see it, I know it.
Yeah, and it was difficult as well. Like, I mean, Jesus, nowhere near as difficult as it was to be you, but it was difficult for me and Ben, especially only because that Ben was the person I spoke to about this mostly. Is we weren't able to help you either.
Yeah.
Really, right? Like
I don't think anyone was.
No.
Yeah, I don't even think mum was. There was a time where, so when I was 18 and I was going through these child healthcare services, it was like I was going into these therapy sessions, and it was like there was a part of me that was like, oh, I'm too good for this. Like, looking back now, obviously, like, so, oh, I'm too good for this. Oh, they're treating me like a child. And I was 18. Like, of course I'm going to be spoken to like that, especially if I'm acting like a fucking prick while I'm doing these things. But yeah, it was so tough, man. Like, I remember there was like a 2-year period of not talking to anyone, and I think in that 2 years you moved to London. So that was something. I remember Ben coming and talking to us, like when we were in party, when I was like on the odd occasion where I was feeling like well enough to come and talk to them lot. It was like, oh yeah, Harry's moved to London. I was like, right, oh cool, that's cool, you know. I was just I think I remember one of the conversations being like, so how the fuck's he pulled that off then?
Yeah.
It was never like, even when we stopped talking back then, it was never like I was saying disparaging things about anyone, like anyone that I'd stopped speaking to just through my depressive episode.
Yeah, I think this is the thing. Like, the thing that becomes abundantly clear to me is that life just happens, right? Regardless
that's something I've learned
of
the past 2 years.
Yeah, of whether we're stuck in a depressive episode or not, whether we're, skinny or not skinny, or whether we're, whatever we're doing, life will happen regardless.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that it's important to understand that we shouldn't hold it against people that life happens, especially not ourselves. Right?
No, definitely not.
But you talked to me a little bit. You just talked there a little bit about games, right? So obviously, games have been a huge part of your life, even before the anxiety and the depression, right? But what role did games play for you during?
I don't know. That first year coming out of school, Black Ops 2, man. Take me back. not to the depressive, like whatever was going on, but like just that game and the good times that we had on that game. But yeah, I just they were an escape, you know. I think everyone says that. Gaming does become an escape, and to some degree, people do get carried away with it. I think for a little bit of time, I was pretty carried away with it. Excuse me. But yeah, they yeah. I don't know how to describe it. It was just it was always the one thing I could go to.
You didn't have to be yourself.
No, definitely not. Like, especially like obviously as well. I mean, we were all fucking 16, 17 at the time, and going through just normal things, you know, parties and not actual like going out parties, fucking Xbox parties, and us all just being really angry for no reason. The amount of countless controllers lost to FIFA and COD and
yeah, that's you. That's fucking not me. That's
you. Come on, you lost a couple of controllers in your time, don't you?
I've never broken a controller from. I've broken a controller from too much use.
That sounds like you. Yeah, that's the one.
I broke an A and an X button by just hammering it too much. But I've never thrown a controller across the room or anything.
No, lucky for some, hey.
Yeah, I mean, you're I mean, still to this day, but not as bad. You were known for your raging, right? Like,
Oh yeah, definitely.
and I think this was something as well that was. It's a telltale sign, right? For me from the outside,
Looking back now, especially, yeah, it's there like, fuck, man, I was not. Everything was not gravy, you know.
But it was an outlet, right?
Yeah.
Like you weren't able to channel that aggression, I suppose, that testosterone, that anger through any medium other than when something went well in the game or something did not go well. And then everything came out in a very, very short spurt of anger, though I don't think it helped. I mean, my assumption would be that it didn't help because more often than not, you'd either be a controller down or you would have gone offline and you'd no longer be playing the game and you'd be in a emotional wreck in your room. I wonder whether I wanted to ask this, like, so we'll get to the positives that have happened recently, but you know, you're now exercising, right? You're now eating healthier. You're now, you know, in a more positive mental state. Do you think that exercise and healthy eating would have helped you 2 years ago?
Definitely. You know, you go to the doctors, you talk to therapists, and they always say, "Oh yeah, exercise is key," and you sort of like when you're not there, you're not asked with what they're saying to you. It's just like, yeah, sure, cool, whatever. I don't want to. But definitely the past couple of months, you know, I think I was starting to feel better without it. But then when I, because, you know, I got to that point, I was just like, right, okay, come on then, let's try and sort this out. And it was there like, right, okay, now I'm going to sleep and probably go back to feeling shit. And then it was like, cool. There's not like this. What is an expression that's not too like cliche?
Say whatever it is, mate. Don't worry about it.
There wasn't that fuzzy feeling in my head. That it's so weird to explain. I see artists on Instagram draw this fuzz all the time when they're like expressing like, oh, so here's anxiety and depression. It's in your head, and then like a hatch opens on the head, and it's there like here's all this bundle coming out. But that's genuinely, it's a really good description of looking back at what was going on in my head. It was like, that's genuinely what it feels like. Is a fuzz, like just a whirlwind of, you know, self-deprecation, depression, anxiety, people judging you, all these things build up into one. And I woke up the one morning, the morning after anyway, after I started to feel good, and it was just like, where are these like thoughts of self-doubt and stuff like that. Obviously the self-deprecation is still there because I think it's funny. Like, sure. I get my kicks from it. I don't know about everyone else, they might get sick of it, but you know, yeah, the thoughts that were so dark and so overwhelming for so many years had seemingly just sort of stopped.
Do you remember the day that you decided to tell yourself that you wanted to give it a good go to try and get better? And if you do remember that day, why did you come to that decision? What led you to that decision?
I can't remember the exact day.
Shithouse.
But I can remember the feeling of like just being sat there, you know. And oddly enough, it was sometime during it was either the first lockdown during it, or it was some time in between the first lockdown and this lockdown, and it was there like, we're gonna go for this. And I'm speaking as like a collective. because I was thinking about me as my being, my entity, whatever you call it, and my mental health. Two separate things. I for some reason, I don't know why, I've taken to just sort of like separating the two.
What's the difference?
Like, oh, fucking hell. You know, I don't know.
Then how do you separate it if you don't know the difference?
I like to think that my mental health is the bad, because for a long time, any like you mentioned the two words mental health, and immediately it was like, come on then.
So again, for people that are just listening to this on audio, Thomas just decided to ball his fists up like, "Hey Arthur," and
yeah, literally, that's a pretty good.
Get into a fighting stance. Sorry, carry on.
But yeah, and then me myself was like obviously mental health. You have your good days where you think, right, cool. You have your good couple of hours. And you think, right, yeah, let's go about the day. You know, I'm thinking a couple of days ahead and stuff like that. Because during my darkest, it was like, I remember telling my GP, I was like, I don't like to think weeks ahead. I don't like to think days ahead. Because at my darkest, it was like, I really don't care. I hate to be like morbid about it, but like I could die right now.
You know, whatever.
Yeah, I was just, I said to myself, I could die right now, and I couldn't give a shit. You know, there was no sort of care for myself. Obviously, that's probably quite telling. But yeah, I don't think I actually ever told anyone that, you know, like there were times where I tell people that, like, yeah, I want to die, but like never to the point of like I would have a good couple of hours, and then suddenly, bang, all that's gone, and I'm thinking minutes ahead. Just like, right, cool, I should probably go eat now. It's 9 o'clock at night and I've not had tea, or something like that. Say if mum wasn't home or whatever else.
So you're kind of reduced to the basic notions of living. But I wanted to go back to the splitting mental health and your actual person.
Yeah, sorry, I keep doing that.
No, this is my job, is to keep some form of sense of structure. But you know, you say there, I always determine mental health to be the bad side of me.
Yeah.
That feels a little bit dangerous to me.
So it goes back to what I'd said during that. I'm just remembering now. Thank you for being there to piece these things back together.
You talk and I'll do the translation. It's fine.
And it was, yeah, so for a long time, it's like my mental health, you know, fists up again, fucking do not want to hear those two words. Didn't care for them, because I knew every time I thought about it, bad thing, no. And then myself was the good couple of hours a day or something where I just feel like, okay, I feel like a normal person. And obviously now I know that my mental health is me, but I still refer to me and my mental health as two separate things. And I now see my mental health at being a good and a bad thing. Like there is a medium, if you get me.
Yeah, of course. So you touched on that you don't remember why or what the day was when you decided that you're actually going to have a real go at this, but it was somewhere in lockdown, right? I have two questions. My first question is, I imagine lockdown didn't feel that much different for you, right?
Not particularly, no.
And I want to just put some context there. Like, for everyone that was in lockdown, right? And for everyone that was egregiously upset and frustrated and bordering
going out,
not depressive,
like going out, seeing your friends, and
because of the lockdown, because of the restrictions in place, that was Tom for 5 years.
Hi, I'm Tom Wellings. Welcome to my life.
And my second question is why lockdown? What happened? If you, I'm trying to tease out exactly what happened as to why you decided that you were going to give it a go.
So I think there had been a couple of days of something building. I wasn't sure what it was. I thought, again, hate to be morbid, I think it was probably a case of seeing everyone else struggling and then thinking, this isn't going to end, so I'm either going to kill myself or something good's going to come of this. And thankfully now, looking back, it was something good is happening. Steps are being made. And I think I probably would credit it to there's been a couple of ladies at the Jobcentre that I've spoken to. People talk about the Jobcentre and hold it in like this. Oh, it's Satan's arsehole is the Jobcentre. But these two ladies that I've had, so obviously I hit the age of 24, and so I had to. A new woman was looking after me.
Shout out some names.
Jackie and I can't remember.
Useless.
Tracy. Tracy's the current one. Tracy's the one. And
Shout out Jackie and Tracey.
Yeah. So
Absolute
Jackie.
Angels. Absolute angels.
Yeah. So Jackie was just so she said to me when I first went in there, I went in there, man, I was fucking petrified. I was I'm going back about what she said, one of the last times I saw her before lockdown. She was just like, I cannot believe how far you've come since you first walked in the door. It's like, mate, I went in there and I was fucking petrified. I was 23, but I walked in there looking like I was 13 and I'd lost my mum in a shop. Couldn't form sentences, I just sat in the chair, fucking rocking back and forth pretty much, just I want to go home. And somehow gradually over that time with Jackie, she was just so nice and so lovely, and I couldn't quite wrap my head around why she was being so nice to me. Other than the fact that I'm a massive stud, obviously,
Jesus fucking Christ.
But no, she was so nice. And so she was giving me all these steps and stuff, and I was like, fucking hell, I didn't know that was a thing, that the Jobcentre could do, or that anyone could do. I didn't know that these things were out there. So excuse me again. So there was this course, and at the time it was great, she wants me to be in a room full of people when I've got fucking anxiety. But that course, man, that was here's how to deal with your anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And from the offset, it was here's how to deal with your anxiety. Let's fucking throw you in at the deep end with a room full of strangers. And then I was told that these people have all got the same things going on as you. Maybe not specifically, but anxiety. They don't like people. You don't like people. Let's try this. So they did that, and we were all doing little tasks and stuff like that, and that went on for about 6 weeks. And you would form a rapport with these people that you're in there with. They would try and do these exercises where at 18, those were the kind of games that I was doing by myself that seemed so tedious. But this time I went in there and it was I'm gonna fucking sort this. These people are gonna help me. It's like a fucking team talk in football. Fucking pull your finger out, you fucking scrot.
Yeah.
And it was yeah. So I gave that a go for 6 weeks, and that was I put that down to Jackie, man. I was so scared at the time, but that's a lot of things, scared at the start, and then as time goes on, it gets better, and then they signed me off, and it was you got any idea what you want to do? And I was no. So obviously they would at the end they had people come in, and it was here's what things are available to you via the Jobcentre and via us, and I think the company's called Enable or something. So there was nothing, unfortunately, there was nothing there at the end of that I said, okay, let's have a look at this. And then it was just more time of going to the job centre, and then up until March, and I was going to the job centre like once every 2 weeks, I think it is. You were going in at the time, and then lockdown hit, and they were there like, right, okay, no one's coming in. We'll phone you from now on. And then I didn't hear from anyone for a couple of months. And then Tracey rang me the one day. I was like, hi, I'll be your new person from the job centre. Yeah. And then she gave me more shit to do, but it was like, I think it was sometime in between the two where I thought, right, what does everyone else do when they leave school? What's usually the go-to thing for job-wise anyway? And I thought, retail. I've probably got the skills for it. You know, I was at Shrewsbury Town for fucking 6 months, something like that, might give or take. So I can talk to people, whether I like it or not. I can talk to people. I've got cash handling experiences as well, you know, fucking paper around for 2 years, and then obviously Shrewsbury Town, and then bits at like these cafes and stuff. Yep. So I just thought, yeah, retail's going to be the one. And then I would say probably sometime last month, Jackie had said, right, there's an online course coming up. We're going to see how you are with that. And rather than going anywhere for it, you're going to get in a Microsoft Teams, I believe it's called. Yeah. In a Microsoft Teams call with a couple of lads. And I thought, great, we're doing this again, are we? So yeah, I did that. I was petrified of that again, which is really annoying because, you know, you gear yourself up for these things and you think, right, this will be fine. And it starts to get closer and you're thinking, right, eyes on me again, but this time they're not in person, they're through a screen, and that's even worse for some reason. Right. But yeah, I did that course. I still got to send off some paperwork actually, which reminds me. But yeah, I did that, and that'll go on my CV now as well. As like hey, you did this. This is something current that you've done. You know, you've had 2 lockdowns away from doing anything. Yeah. Now let's get you up and going.
So if you had to describe where you are mentally now, how would you do that?
Mentally, so some days it comes back, but that's a given. But as opposed to it being every day, it's like it's been, the last time was sometime last week where the eating habit came back, and it was like I wasn't sticking to the thing that you told me about, you know, eating between 12 and 8 and stuff like that. I'd been doing that. Sure. Fasting, and I was doing so well with that, and I thought, this is good, man. Like I'm doing this, and then sometime last week, I don't know what it was, just this wave of hatred for myself came over, and I just started eating, like
everything,
just eating everything, you know. Fucking we done a bit of a shop, you know, before Christmas, like stack one cupboard. And there was a fucking one of those tubes of like mini cheddars, you know, you get like the fat tubes of mini cheddars. I fucking went through them like nobody's fucking business. And then I noticed after that day, I was there like, fuck, I feel like shit. So it goes back to another thing about the dieting and the what have you, have an effect on your mental health. I think it fucking does. It's got to. It's like you hear it so much, like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. And like I said, but no. Genuinely, and now the past couple of days, it's been a little sketchy in places, but I know I definitely, you know, I worked out this morning, before I had a shower, and it was just like, okay, we're back. We're starting to tick again.
Because it feels, I mean, just to touch on the healthy eating and the exercise thing, is it's like healthy eating and exercise are so, look, don't get me wrong, I can't say that I'm exactly the biggest proponent of healthy eating, especially not during lockdown, but I try to keep a baseline of food that is healthy. But the exercise thing, I think that was one of the biggest factors for people during lockdown, was a lack of exercise. Now, generally in London especially, you don't drive many places. You either you walk to the tube and then you take the tube somewhere, because
I mean, you sold your car before you got there, is what I was told anyway. You sold your car because you weren't going to need it. So
exactly, yeah, and it's just more efficient to take the tube than it is to drive and stuff. So, but you know, having an understanding of what healthy eating does from a cortisol, endorphin, serotonin level, and then how that affects you from an exercise perspective, I think is really, really important. You know, it's really important.
We're putting these pieces together now, and it's like, I think I know, like, you asking what might have triggered the whole sort of like getting my shit together mindset. I was biking pretty much fucking every day during the first lockdown.
Yep.
Doing God knows how many fucking miles, like, around me. I even got to fucking other side of Lillishall the one day. I remember that day. I got fucking sunburned really fucking badly. It was on one of the hottest days during that lockdown, and I fucking burnt myself. And I even took a fucking lane that went down to a fucking farm that I didn't realize. It was a 2-mile fucking lane, this fucking cunting road. I thought, this is fine, you know. There's bits of like grass in the middle of the road. It's probably nothing. And then I got there and I saw the sign for this farm. I was like, you fucking cunt. I was just like, fucking come on, then we're going back. But yeah, it was, I think what you're saying, like, exercise, man. That's probably what is a contributing factor into me finally sort of like,
especially in men, right? Is it's like, there's this commonly used cliche phrase of like taming the demon, right?
Yeah.
And this isn't to say that every man has anxiety or depression, because I don't think that's the case. I think potentially we all have tendencies to turn to that sort of state, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that there is a buildup of testosterone, there is a buildup of cortisol that needs to be managed. And the best management for that is rigorous exercise, or just exercise. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd remember we play football now and again, right? But always after that game of football, however long it lasted for, everyone generally was quieter and calmer than when we started. And that speaks volumes to me. And it's the same now. When I train now, I'm always a kinder person after I've trained than before I started. Always. And, you know, whether it's going out like you and just doing really long bike rides or really long walks, I think the exercise also takes you away from whatever it was you were, you know, because in the confines of your room, it's just 4 walls. Nobody's going to come in without your permission. Everything around you is sort of safe and secure because it's your room. It's what you've put there. And you can't really, you don't feel like you have to go out and do anything, and your thoughts can consume yourself, right? Whereas when you're out and you're pushing a 2-mile lane that goes to some dude's farm that you can't actually go on, you know, what you're then thinking about is, oh, fuck, I've got to turn around and bike 2 miles to get back to where I was in the first place, rather than thinking like, whatever it is that the demon is telling you at the time.
The fucking sorry, it's just like slight diversion, but I did my Spotify rewind for this year.
Oh yeah.
And
the All About Balance podcast was number 1, right? Shithouse.
But my my number one artist was Neck Deep. And
Okay.
I remember this because I don't know, something about the pop punk sort of like the beat, I think In Bloom by Neck Deep was the first song on the This Is Neck Deep playlist from Spotify, and that is always what I put on to go out on these bike rides. And that would always, like, the beat for that would like get me through like the first like shitty bits of traveling the same roads every day to get out to where I wanted to go. And I remember on that bike ride where I burnt myself going down that lane, there was the one song, and I can't remember the name of it, but the one of the first lines is, "I've made a critical mistake in a momentary lapse of judgment." And I was halfway down that fucking lane, and I thought, I should probably check maps now. And then I thought, no, it's fine. And I got to that sign then, and then check maps, and obviously, right, Farmer Giles is not going to be too fucking pleased if I fucking pull up on his fucking turnips, like.
Yeah.
And it was, yeah, man. Yeah, the bike rides, man, they were good. I've always said to myself, I hate the warm weather, but when you ride a bike, that warm weather is a blessing. Like, dude, I even fucking started taking pictures. Like that was an escape for me as well. Like the exercise, and then like seeing these cool things from like some of the shit was literally just right around the corner from me, and you would see like sunsets. You would see how the sun would hit a tree, and then like, and especially late night ones. The most like the favorite picture I've taken is it's the one I posted on my Instagram of the pink sky, the tree on the right, and the road in front of me. That picture, I think, to me is the symbol of my recovery, like quotations, recovery was yeah, that's the picture I hold in high regards as the moment where I'm just there, like, finally, like, because you get to see these things when you go outside, and you think, wow, maybe shit's not so bad, if that makes sense.
Because
like,
you know that you talk about, this is the other thing as well, right, about going outside and seeing other things, is when you get lulled into a sense of routine, and that routine is waking up feeling negative, being in the same room that is essentially like a prison, and then you continue to feel negative, and then when you're using the coping methods that you were, which were medication and which were games and which were food, like none of those are taking you outside of that room, right?
No.
They're all keeping you in the same thing. And whilst in some facets that keeps you comfortable and makes you feel safe when you are feeling down, it also doesn't help when you're wanting something, when you need something fresh, when you need something new. And like you say, you go outside your house and you literally turn a corner and there's a beautiful field, and you're like, oh okay, my brain didn't let me think that there was nice things outside, but there seems to be nice things outside. And it gives you a sense of newness, right? Like a freshness to the day.
Yeah.
And you're out here biking fucking 10 plus miles a day. You're going to see tons of nice shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It was, it was good. Like, okay. And I think another thing as well that I'd like to put my finger on as a moment where I thought, right, things are getting better. I'd noticed that the tablets that I was on, metazapine, which were for anxiety and depression, like they were also for insomnia. So during that time, I was struggling with insomnia. You know, waking up at like 4 o'clock and being up for an hour, and that really like fucking me. So they put me on metazapine, and that was like, you'll sleep full night, and the counter effects to that is that during the day you will be less anxious and stuff like that. And I'd gotten to a point with it while I was exercising where I was like, these are not working. Like, I don't feel that, I'm not feeling the effects of these. Like, I'm going out, I'm still anxious, I'm not getting a full night's sleep. So I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to stop taking them. I didn't. If any fucking GPs are listening, my GP's listening. I'm sorry, I didn't tell you. I didn't. I didn't consult anyone. I was like, right, fuck this. I take matters into my own hands, and I'm just going to stop taking them and see how I do. And it was during that time where I stopped taking them, that is when that day came where I woke up and I was like, I've slept a full night and I feel not fuzzy. Is the explanation that I used earlier, and that's the best way I can describe it for you now.
I wanted to put this to you as well, which was
sorry.
I've had a couple of friends, obviously you included, but
Yeah.
I've had a couple of friends that have dealt with some relatively serious depressive bouts, whether they're days or weeks or years or whatever.
Yeah.
And I found that medical practitioners are very, very quick to put you on a course of medication, like pill medication.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, for some people, it may work an absolute treat and it may be absolutely brilliant. But looking back at where you were 4 years ago, if you'd been able to commit to a sleep routine, an eating routine, and an exercise routine, this may be impossible to say, but do you think that would have made as much, if not more of a difference than the medication? Like, I wonder whether the medication, because what I've heard from antidepressants and things that curb anxiety and depression is that what they do is they numb the emotional receptors in your brains that you just don't feel anything, right?
Yeah.
Which then stops you from feeling anxious and stops you from feeling depression. What it also does is doesn't help allow you to feel happiness or excitement or enjoyment or whatever. Not to the same degree anyway. And I wonder whether seeing, from what you've just said, you've seen bountiful benefits from sleeping well, eating well, or eating better, right? And getting some exercise. Like, that's not to say that, if you just had those three things, you'd be grand. But what do you think about using those as a first remedy rather than going straight to pills?
I would say that right now, the me of right now, I would say what I was thinking when you were talking to just then was, I would say that I've got no problem with GPs going immediately drugs, numb it, see how you feel, because that's essentially what it is. It's numb it and then come back to us in 6 months. Let's see how you're doing, and we'll go from there. And I would say that the years that I've had of going back every 6 months and saying, yeah, no, I'm still not feeling good.
Better. Yeah.
That's when they can look at these different avenues and say, right, let's try therapy. Let's do all these. And then when that doesn't work, like the case with me, that nothing was working, and then I happened to stumble upon something that did work for me. I don't know how to explain it, but I think it's for me it's been a growing thing. Everyone grows their own way, People will go into work straight away from school. Fucking people go to college straight away from school. Context, I didn't go to college and I didn't go to university either. So what I'm learning right now, actually, as I'm talking about it, because I've had this sudden epiphany just talking about it, is people grow in their own way. That's fine. It took me a long time to admit that growing your own way is fine. I have had lots of people tell me that growing your own way is perfectly fine, it's normal. But yeah, I would say that whatever your course of treatment is for whatever's going on, it will work itself out eventually, if that makes sense. Like I've now got a story to tell, people about what's going on. Like I've not touched on it too much here because I start rambling and I go all these fucking different other places. But I've got a story and I've got bits of information I can share with people about my quotations again recovery and the bits that are now following that. And I'm still going with my story. I'm not out of the woods by any means.
Something that I would like to see you do is I'd like to see you flesh this out into, because the whole point of this is it's just a conversation, right? And as with every conversation, thoughts fly in and your sentence changes midway and we're just rambling and going on and just chatting shit, right? And that's absolutely fine. That's the purpose of the podcast. But I think that what I'd like to see you do is I would like to see you flesh out your ideas into something more formal, whether it be on a podcast, right? Whether you want to go away and think about it and come back and actually tell your story here, or whether you want to put it down on paper or in a blog or something similar, because like I have a couple of thoughts. And the first one is that I think that I have an idea, and that idea is that so it's quite a large idea, so bear with me while I try and explain it. But I think there's something that connects every single person called the pantheon of knowledge. Well, I determine it to be the pantheon of knowledge, right? And what I basically mean is that there is a pot of experience, and that in that experience pot is every single person that's ever lived, and whoever lives will draw from that pot. Now, what you've done currently at 24 is you've added to that pantheon of experience ways not to deal with anxiety and depression, ways to deal with anxiety and depression, and ways that are both good and bad to deal with anxiety and depression. Yeah. You've also added, to the therapists that you've dealt with, you've helped them to understand what does work, what doesn't work, and things that may work for other people, right? Mm-hmm. For the GPs, the same. You've probably added to clinical trials of fluoxetine and whatever the other tablet you mentioned. You've also, you've added all of these things to the pantheon of knowledge, whether you understand that you've done it or not. But I feel like there's something in everyone that can be added, almost like an essay, I guess, or like a formal report, a life's work that could be added to the pantheon.
Fucking memoir or something, yeah.
Right. And I think that you at the age of 24 probably have some really strong foundations for something that could be really important, right? Like I think, and this is the thing I want to talk about now, but what I feel is that there's not many males on the whole that are happy to talk about the struggles that they have mentally or emotionally, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone's happy to talk about, I couldn't lift this weight in the gym, or I couldn't do this, or I couldn't do that, but I'll do it next time. It's very different to say that I stayed in my room for 3 days because I was contemplating suicide, right? Like it's that's a very different type of thing to press onto a male's ego. And I think that obviously you're very active on social media with charities like Mind and these sorts of things, and I want you to talk about that in a second. But I think that something formal, depicting, quite plainly, quite abruptly, quite strictly what happened to you and what has happened and where you are now, I think would be really beneficial. That's something that I would like to see anyway.
I think talking about it in this kind of format, it's probably more likely to happen. Just because, oh, you bastard. I'd say me talking about it, like having someone ask me questions, is definitely the better one. Because I can't read and write. I can, but for your ego, we'll go there.
Thank you. That's very kind. Thank you.
But yeah, I think I form words and sentences better than what I do, like spelling them out. Like if you see my fucking texts, I'm always missing words out and stuff like that. So there's like me typing shit out. It's not going to work well for anyone. It'd be like reading the fucking life and times of Stevie Wonder, written by Stevie Wonder. Oh
boy, you probably still write better than you, to be fair.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, fucking. God damn it, Harry.
Well, talk to me about the social media stuff, because you're active on Twitter and Instagram about
some would
charities
say too
like
much,
Mind
yeah.
and well, whatever, but you know, things like Mind or whatever, how have those charities helped you, and why do you push that stuff out on Instagram and Twitter and things?
So for me, I've only had to use Mind, I believe, once, and that was sometime last year, and that was because I didn't know. Was it like? Might have been sometime last year, just before I did the charity thing, where I shaved my head, and I'd gotten to a point of I think I was just worried about lots of things, and I spoke to them. I think it was about money, and I was like, right, I don't know what to do. And they didn't.
OnlyFans.
I wish. Although my tits probably would have made me some kind of money on some side of the internet somewhere. But yeah, they were just, whoever it was that spoke to me, they were just like, right, okay, like obviously we can't help you. We probably line you up with a sugar daddy from somewhere, but I didn't take that option.
Papi.
I wish they did, but no. So yeah, and then from that, I don't know. I just, my trials and tribulations of anxiety and depression have led me to wanting to make sure that my friends are looked after and that they know that they've got somewhere to go. So me retweeting these things, me mocking up these designs for, say, like, I don't know if you remember my story, the Shrewsbury Town and the Calm and the Mind thing that I did. That was purely just so if I put that out there on my social medias, if there is anyone, like my friends, you, Ben, Adam, fucking Callum, Daly, Mulligan, fucking anyone, don't start that. But yeah, if there's anyone, and I remember it's the middle of last year sometime. I don't think it was my Shrewsbury Town one that I did, but it was another one that I put up from Mind, and I'd had a message from one of my internet friends, and he was just like, "Yo, man, thank you for sharing that. I don't really feel comfortable talking about it to my friends, but if I used them to go and talk. I used Mind for, I think he said he didn't use it for very long, but the fact that he used it anyway and then came to me and said, thank you for sharing it was so, but I would have kept doing it anyway, you know. I've probably got half my fucking timeline have probably got me muted like all over the place, you know, just from my random shit posting about other things. But as long as the people that need it see it, then I feel like I'm doing something. I might not be doing a lot currently, you know, in forms of like having a job and you know, making all this money and stuff like that. But I'm helping others, and for a long time that was so difficult for me. It was like patting myself on the back about certain things, but you know, I feel like I'm doing stuff for people.
Look, I mean, I think that the capacity for work and what work is a scale that is slippery, right? It's something that's difficult to define. You know, how can we define whether the job that I do 9 to 5 has a more positive effect on the world on net than you consistently posting content about mental health and whatever? And there may be a large number of people that have taken something from your posts that will never message you because they don't feel comfortable to message you.
But as long as they've seen it like that,
right? But just the understanding that you have conducted some form of positive change in their lives. Like, how do you differentiate what that work is? I think it's very difficult to do that. So So I think that, you know, the capacity of work is a scale that you shouldn't compare yourself on. Instead, you should compare yourself with who you were yesterday, right? And if you feel like you're the same or better than yesterday, it's a pretty good place to be.
Yeah, I think the whole job thing is the one thing that I've really held on to since school. Was, you know, for a long time, I still to this day, I'm always like, I want to look after my family, I want to look after my friends. So the job thing for me has always been there, and it's always something that I go back to. But now it's still there. Obviously, I just mentioned it now, so obviously it's still there. But as long as I can show everyone and prove to myself that I'm a good person, you know, not the way I've worded that probably just makes it sound like I'm like, oh yeah, I want to make me look great and stuff like that. Who gives a shit? But I'm just, you know, as long as I don't feel like I did for those 6 years, you know, then I feel like I'm doing something. Yeah, like
look, I mean, I think that's a beautiful place to wrap this up, right? So before you go, I just want to offer you a chance to say any shout outs that you want to anyone. And if you can also tell people where they can find you on either Instagram or wherever they can find you, if you can let people know, that would be good.
Yeah. Well, so I am just, find me on Twitter at the Macho Peas. My Instagram is fucking something I can't remember. My Instagram is Tom Wellings 96. You know, that's all I've got. I've got no shout outs. Anyone?
Yeah, fuck Ben Davis.
No, I'm not going to go down that route. But yeah, if anyone listening, you know, needs to talk to anyone, Calm, Mind, Samaritans, fucking any of them, you know, they're always there. They're not going to go anywhere, probably, you know. But yeah, that's the one thing I'll leave it on, is there are people out there if anyone wants to talk.
Well, look, from me as a closing statement, I'll say this. It's been inspiring to watch you. It's been frustrating to watch you. It's been annoying at times to watch you struggle, because I've known that we can't affect the change that I wish we were able to make, and that change had to come from you. But seeing you in the last couple of months really blossom into a person that you want to be, meeting people you want to meet, doing things that you want to do, and being in a far better mental state is something that I'm extremely proud of you for. And I think that you should be proud of yourself. You're still shit at Call of Duty, but you're not shit at life, right? And I think that you should be really proud of what you've achieved. And look, I hope that this continues. And as you've already stated, if ever there's anyone that you need to speak to, look, the people that are there, the people that you've mentioned are there. But look, there are to the same people that you've just talked to, there are people that care about you somewhere, right? And you should try and utilize those people as much as possible, whether you're male, female, or somewhere in between. It doesn't really matter. There's always somebody that will be there for you. And look, I thank you for your time today, and I'd like to do this again, maybe when your thoughts are a little bit clearer, and I can ask some more direct questions, and because I don't want you to feel like you're rambling all the time. But yeah, thank you very much for your time, and it's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure, man. Yeah, thank you for this.